everybody, my name is Sarah Yakowanis, and today I'm going to show you how to make a We the People rose. The first thing you're going to want to do is print out these templates double-sided, and the reason why they're double-sided is because a rose is a three-dimensional object and you want that constitution printed on the front and on the back. So after we get this all downloaded and printed out, the first step we're going to do is coat a piece of wire in floral tape. And you can get floral wire. This is an 18 gauge floral wire and floral tape at your local craft store. And it really shouldn't cost more than $5 to get a roll of floral tape and a pack of floral wire. And that'll make more than a dozen roses. So the first thing we're going to do is cover this piece of floral wire in floral tape. And floral tape is very odd. It has absolutely no stick. And the little stick that it does achieve is achieved by stretching it. So you stretch it and roll it. And it only really ever will stick to itself. So it's just an action of, oops, broke it a little bit there. That happens. It's an action of stretching it and rolling it, just like that. And I like 3 coats of floral tape on my floral wire for this one because the bloom is going to be so big that if you have it on a really skinny stem, it just doesn't look right. It's not like realism is really what we're going for with this rose because it does have the Constitution printed on the petals. But I think 3 looks better. And now I'm going to set this piece of wire aside. And we're going to start by cutting out this first strip, which is this little bumpy shape right here. And you don't have to cut it out perfectly. The more variations that your hand will naturally make while you're cutting out these shapes, and this goes for just about everything on this rose, will look a lot more natural than everything being just exactly right. Like, perfection really is the enemy on this one. The more natural variations you create, the better it'll look. And I have this one already all cut out, and I am going to roll it. And the reason why you're going to want to roll this is because the paper for its whole life has been flat. And we want to tell it that it's not going to be flat anymore, that it's going to be rolled. And the best way to achieve that isn't like just like gluing it right on from flat to not flat. The best way to achieve that is to roll it a little bit first. So I went one way, and I'm just going to go back the other way. And that's going to really help you create a nice tight roll. Just like that. And now we're going to unroll it. And I have to kind of weave it in between my fingers so that the excess doesn't really get in your way. And I have a little bit of glue and a brush, and this is just regular white glue. There's really nothing, nothing special about it. And that one had been sitting out a little bit, so it's got a little bit of film on the top, but now I'm going to take my white glue and just glue that first, each one of these little bumps I'm going to call a petal. So we're just going to glue at the bottom of that first petal. And we'll take our floral wire that's been covered in tape and go a little bit, like, because this is going to be so covered up, you're going to have more structure if you kind of make it go up a little bit past the glue. And now we're going to roll this just like that, really tight. And this is going to be one of the most important glue bonds that we make during this whole process. Because if you don't make a really strong glue bond on this initial piece, what's going to happen is there's a potential that you'll have your flower almost completely done and it'll pop right off because you want to make the first bonds very strong. So now I'm just going to do a little bit more on this one. So that's 2 petals that are going to be really, really tight to the floral wire. Just like that. And now, because the center of your rose, you don't want to be like a really, really tight thing. You want to let it bloom a little bit. And how we're going to achieve that is we're going to take our glue and do 2 petals this time. So we've got 2 petals nice and covered. You don't want to go too overboard with the glue because that gets a little hard to work with, but just a nice thin layer, evenly distributed, is going to work really nicely. So now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of like that. See how it's like a little bit loose and like that? And then we're going to squish it down just like that. And that's going to allow our center to kind of really organically blossom. So it's not going to be really tight the whole way around. Just like that. See how that's opening up already? Just with 2 petals like that. And you continue doing that the whole way. So just 2 more petals, and do that same, like, squish it down with the glue, of course. And this is a final one all ready to go. And as you can see, it really has a very lifelike feeling, even though it is, you know, has the Constitution printed on it. It looks very similar to a real rose. And I actually tore apart several roses to develop this template. So the next thing we're going to do is cut out this second strip. So we're just going to trim this little jaggedy piece, and we're going to cut that out and save that, put that aside for, it's one of the last steps that those are for. And you're also going to save these lines, and those are also going to be for the last step. So we're going to set this bottom portion, we're going to set that aside. But for right now, we're going to focus on the first petal. So we're going to trim that excess white really close to that template, as close as you can make it. And then we're going to accordion fold this. And the reason why we accordion fold it really, really close to the template again is because it's going to save us a lot of time. So like when you go to cut it out, you'll be able to have 5 petals with 1 cut instead of having to cut out 5 individual petals. It just saves a lot of time. It's a neat little trick. And that's accordion folded. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to cut off that excess right there. And now we're going to cut out the petals. And again, just like everything with this flower, don't go for perfection. Use these as more of a suggestion. This is pretty much the shape you want to get, but any natural variations that your hand will make is going to be way more beautiful than cutting it out perfectly on the line. And now we are going to take this stack of petals and we're going to roll it. And the reason why we rolled it is the same reason why we rolled those center petals. This paper was flat and it's not going to be flat for long, so we want to kind of give it an idea of the shape that we want it to be. So we're just going to kind of roll that this way. And then go back and roll it the other way, so each side gets a chance at being at the center of that roll. Perfect. Now we're going to open those up and get 1 petal. And this is how we're going to, now I'm going to show you how we fold the petals. So the first thing you're going to do is pinch it right at the bottom like that. And then we're going to nestle our thumb right up in there. And if we go at this angle, you can see that there's a little bit of a tent right there that forms with the pinch. And what we're going to do is we're just going to squish that tent right down. And then we have it held in that pinch, and then we're just going to pinch the top again, or the bottom, just like that. And that is a pretty little petal, nice and three-dimensional, and it's going to work great for our center petals. So I have a bunch already made. And now we're going to get our glue back out. And our center. And we're just going to glue these right to it. So we're going to put a little bit of glue on that bottom piece. Just like that. Position it to the stem so it's a little bit over. You don't want it to be too high up and you don't want it to be too low down, just a little bit. We're going to pinch that onto the stem nice and hard so it creates a good bond, just like that. And now we're going to do the next petal, and I like to overlap these a little bit and then just keep on going right along, overlapping them. Probably like a third of it you want it to be overlapping. Just like that. That looks good. It's got a nice overlap, and we're just going to pinch that on and hold it for a few seconds to create a nice strong glue bond. Just like that. And then you'd continue doing that until all your petals are on. I have one already, and you can see why we curled it now so it stays nice and tight, just like that. And those center petals on the center, and then they slowly kind of get bloom out just like that. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to cut out our remaining outer petals. And these two petals are exactly the same. You just need more than one strip will make for a single rose. So I did 2 strips just so you definitely will have enough petals to finish your rose. So just like before, we're going to trim it and accordion fold it just like that. Really flush with that template so you get the most petals out of each strip. And we're going to cut that out. And now we're going to curl these in a little bit different way than we have before. We're going to take this end, so that's kind of almost a heart shape, so we're going to go from one side of the heart and just kind of curl it in. And I like to curl it in towards the We the People because that's going to be the outside, and that's one of the prettier parts of it, is that beautiful We the People from the Constitution. And we're going to do the same thing on that other side so it makes a nice almost triangle shape, just like that. And I have this one all done. So that's both of those strips all nice and curled. And now we're going to fold the petal. And it's a lot like the last petal that we just did. So we're gonna pinch it at the bottom just like that on that boxy bottom. We're gonna nestle our thumb in at a little bit of a different angle because it is so wide, kind of go in like that instead of like that. And then we've got a much bigger tent right there. You can kind of see that's where my thumb is. So we're gonna pinch that down and then pinch it again. And this one, because it's so wide, you will get a little bit of prone to ripping right there. And don't worry about that. You'll still be able to use that petal even if it's ripped a little bit. And just like before, I have these all cut out and ready to go. You don't need all of the petals necessarily per flower. So as you add them on, you know, keep in mind that it's not crucial that every single one of them is completely, you know, you don't have to use all of these petals on a single rose. You can go until you think it looks good and then stop. And now we are going to glue these on in the same way, except you're going to get a much bigger overlap right here. So I think a little bit of glue right there is really beneficial. It helps everything stay exactly where you want it. And we're just going to pinch that on just like before. And we'll do one more. See how they overlap a little bit just like that? And you're going to continue to do that all the way around. And 2 circles around I think looks really nice, but every once in a while placement will get a little bit weird, and so just add petals where you think it looks nice to make a nice round blossom. And this is the finished one, so you can kind of see, like, we've got this one loop and then another loop, and then I put that one on there just because it kind of helps round it out a little bit. Actually, I think this one needs one more, so I'm going to put one more petal right here. Yeah, that looks way better with just that extra petal right there. You can open it up a little bit or squish it in if you want a tighter blossom like that. And now we are ready for the zigzaggy piece that we set aside from before. So this piece right here, we are going to cut it out just along that box. And we're going to curl this in. So the zigzaggy shape right there, we're going to just curl right to the bottom of it. Not the bottom of the piece itself, just to the bottom of that zag, so about halfway down. Just like that. And then you unroll it and cut it out. And I have one already cut out, so you don't have to watch me cut that whole thing. And the last thing we're going to do before we put it on the rose is to curl it one more time this way. And it's just, again, just to tell the paper how we want it to behave. It had been flat and now it's not. There we go. Perfect. We're going to unroll that and get our glue back out. And just start gluing, maybe about a third. I'm gonna nestle it up so that these spikes kind of are, the bottom of the spikes are flush with that bottom, and that's going to give it a really nice rose neck feel. I know these aren't exactly realistic. There's no green. It's all got the Constitution on it. But the little details are really what I think make these flowers super, super pretty. And then just a little bit more at the end. Perfect. See, doesn't that little detail make a big difference? I really think it does. And finally, we're going to take those strips that we set aside at the beginning, and we're just going to cut one out. Depending on the length of your floral wire, you're going to use 2 or 3 of these. But I actually cut this down so that it would be easy to work with in my light box for this video. So I'm just going to use 1. And we're going to start by just, oh, actually, I forgot. I'm going to trim that white. We're going to add a little bit of glue to the end. And kind of go at an angle like that. So we're just going to go like that. Fold that in and give it a nice strong pinch to make those bonds set up. And now just take a little bit of glue. Oh, that's a big glob. Let's thin that out a little bit. We're going to make a nice thin layer of glue on that stem and kind of go a little bit at a time. If you don't, you'll get glue all over your hands and it'll be really sticky and messy and unpleasant. Unless you like glue all over your hands, then go for it all at once. And then we're just going to wrap that stem. Put a little bit more glue on the stem. And give it one more pinch all the way around, make sure all those bonds are set up nicely, and there you have it. That is how you make a We the People rose. It's pretty simple, straightforward. You have everything you need. Pretty accessible. I mean, it doesn't cost a lot to make. And yeah, so thank you for watching.